welcome to the show, Danette. Like, welcome to Super Life. And there's, I'm always so excited to talk to you because there's so many different avenues that I think we share in on, and you exemplify it so well in really trying to live and also helping people to live an extraordinary life, um, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and then use all of the tools that you have gathered and mastered and are a student of. And I'm just stoked to connect with you, and certainly share whatever we can to help people navigate a sometimes strange world, but
Yes.
certainly opportunities always are at our grasp, I believe. So thanks for jumping on here with me with your second showing on the Super Life podcast.
Yeah, what an honor. You're just such an epic soul. And I see a lot of reflection of me and you. And it's like we can go anywhere. And I love this intention of just being a fly on the wall and having a really heart to heart, open conversation of what you're feeling, because obviously you felt this. And so I'm really curious what your spirit is wanting to really exemplify out into the world through this conversation. So it's really cool. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm kind of coming here on this podcast to also be a student of you as well, and I am always blown away with curiosity, rather than, you and I have been in this kind of space for a long time, and yeah, of course you learn wisdom and knowledge along the way, but also the curiosity is something that I think is just a superpower.
That you have.
Well, I try to practice it for sure, and I think the things that have mattered the most to me have came out of that maturation and honoring of curiosity. And so yeah, it's I think, and we're still like, I desire my own super life. I contemplate what I desire, and also I like to you know, share things in the world to help kind of do that. And you have created a lot of things and a lot of community, and if that's one thing I can learn from, uh you gather so well, and you bring about kind of a intentional group so well. And I think so much of our world is so distracting, and also um siloed in a sense, and it almost takes an extra effort to, I know for me it takes a sometimes an extra effort to bring in community, whether it's close friends or just to kind of extend oneself into a community to contribute to. So I'm interested to hear, like, as you've done that for so long and continue to do it, maybe as it relates to now, in the world as it is. And that's, people can interpret that how they want. Whether it's challenging for some or there's opportunities for other, but kind of where are you sitting now, and how important, I guess the first question I have is how important community is.
Wow, this is interesting, your reflection of me, because I imagine people listening right now and I have a feeling we haven't talked prior to this conversation in a bit.
Right, right.
And I have a feeling you're at a similar juncture that I am. And I think a lot of people are, is it's almost like you've been hiking down this path. Life for me is this huge analogy. And I'm like, I'm walking, I've been hiking, and now there's two paths. And I'm like, oh, which one do I want? Which one,
Right.
what one am I most curious about? Which one am I just feelings lighting up a little bit more? Because I can't go wrong. But what path am I going to walk down at this
Yeah.
point? And it's led me thinking a lot about friendship and community, and because one path's going to lead in a specific way
Hmm.
around friendship, community, who I'm bumping into along the way, right? And so I've been in this introspection because I would believe my past has been more less about community. I built a community of women that have come into my programs and things like that, but Danette, as a human, has not been hanging out with very many people.
Right.
She's very private. She's
Yeah.
like, there's few that she does, and then she's mostly, and it's just been now because the businesses have gotten bigger and people find out who you are. But I've been just in the mountains creating programs and hiking by myself every day,
Right.
and now people are, I'm coming out a little bit more, and I'm sensing I'm coming even more and being around more people, which is not my normal nature, actually. I'm very introverted, but I can be very extroverted when I'm in front of people. So I'm reflecting on that right now a lot, of who do I want to be with, and honestly, this human energy of, because I think sometimes we think we need to be with people or it's important to be with people, but I think it's more important to be with the right people and to be with the
Yeah.
right frequency of what you're actually doing. And you don't really need people to get to where you're actually trying to go at a soul level.
Right.
And the right frequency people will come in, and there's just no forcing. There's no needing to be like, oh, I'm going to say yes to this, even though it's a no. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the right people will be flowing in and out.
I love that answer because there's so many similarities to you and I. Like I am largely out in nature. I built a life where I walk out my door and I grab my dogs and I just go and I run them, I hike. Yeah, I'm just constantly interacting with nature, and it takes me a bit to, because I'm introverted too, and people, probably you as well, because when they see you, they don't get that, right?
No,
They
I think
because
I'm an extrovert.
yeah, exactly. And I think it's a we built up a battery that we need to. We understand ourselves enough, and then we're like, okay, I'm good. So I'm not that person that's gonna grab a bunch of things and just go do them without tuning in. And so there is a lot of nuance around what is that community like. And you said something really important, I think, and that is, it's not about the volume. It's not about the volume of people. It's not about what of a bunch of events. It's who are those people and what are you building together, and what is that resonance and what is that magnetism and what is that shared kind of path. And
Mhm.
I don't know about you, but I'm continuously blown away, most currently now, as to the extraordinary people that I get to interact with and build things with. And so there is a lot of nuance, and people, I think it takes discovering of oneself to understand, well, who am I? What makes me say yes or no to something? What is nurturing to me, and what isn't? And
Exactly.
yeah, so are you? But are you still drawn to do your gatherings in your communities, your intentional work with communities and stuff as well?
Yeah, yeah, and it's shifting. So I've been, and I think like you were doing a show and you're out there, but it's through a screen. And that was exactly how I was out there, through a screen. But this body wasn't in front of, like, if I was in front of people, it was like, oh, this 1,500 person event, conference center,
Right,
but I have a stage. Like I
right,
have a little bit of distance, right? So that was
yeah,
always how I showed up. But people felt like they knew me, and they would say that they'd be like, "I feel like I know you." But it's weird because I actually don't, but I feel like I do. And I'd be like, and I don't know
right,
you. But I love that you feel that, like that we can have this exchange through these screens and these books and these things. What I'm creating now, because I was, and I'm not doing them this next year, I was doing these deep healing experiences. And I was taking anywhere from 55 to 100 women into these specific places to work with Indigenous healers and myself and to do really deep, profound healings. And what was lighting me up a lot, not only just seeing the profound healings that happened with these women, but being and working and being seen by
Mm.
these Indigenous healers that don't have websites, that people are
Yeah.
like, how did you get connected with? Because it's a soul connection. That intrigues me so much and fills me up so much, that a soul from another country, a different background, who doesn't have a website, that's not on the screen, would know to connect with a girl that's living the life I'm living, because they can feel my heart and my authenticity of what I'm trying to do, and go, let me work with you and we're going to do this together. And that relationships and those relationships have been some of the most edifying recently in the last couple of years, of these people around the world that people won't know, but I get to know their hearts and their gifts, and they're teaching me a lot. So that's lighting me up. But I have a feeling I'm doing these sound frequencies in stadiums soon and in bigger venues. And I'm going to need to be open to this new part of myself of being out in front of people more and more,
Mm.
and learning how to do that in a different way than I have before.
Yeah, it's a whole different um because it's like it's a whole different part of ourselves, and at the same time there's so much reward in it as well,
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
and again, there's so much in, because I share that too. I've met a lot of Indigenous people along the way, and showing up and making those kind of lifelong connections is I often catch myself reflecting if I on stuff, and I'll go, holy shit, I've done a lot of things, right? I've met a lot of people, and I don't know about you, but I don't feel like I'm remotely even scratch the surface. And I have a I have to watch myself, because I'll get way too busy and broad, and then burn myself out, and then all of a sudden I'm like, what am I doing? Um, and this desire to I mean, it's as simple as, this is such an amazing life, and in so many ways it's just, in so many ways it's expressing itself, it's upside down.
Yeah.
And I was just on Earth Day, I was like, it just came out of my mouth. It's like, so much of our what our culture of modern world is extracting us from the natural world, right? We are living inside, we're staring at screens. Um, we have to biohack ourselves back to the earth, of taking our shoes off again, and like,
Nature's the biggest biohacker. What are we
I,
thinking?
I know. And we think it's revelatory when it's like,
I
oh yeah.
know.
And
Oh
that's
my
the
gosh.
that's the funny, that's the
That's the
funny
paradox.
the paradox. Yeah.
It's like, so I'm going to go and we're going to be so advanced and we're going, like, we're doing all this stuff. And I'm like, the most advanced people are the ones connected to the earth. But
Right.
you're missing the point, and you're missing them, because you're so thinking it looks a certain way and you're trying to climb to this specific place, and you forgot to just go back to the fundamentals, which is earth.
Right. Yeah. How do you navigate running businesses, doing a lot of things, swinging, you know, heavy towards wanting to accomplish a lot of stuff in this world, and how do you balance that between also this indigenous wisdom of this primal part of ourselves? Like, I struggle with that for sure. Like,
Oh
there's a part
man.
of me, you and I could probably have retired to that island at some point, and certainly let, but that's
There's
not.
something in us, though, that's
Yeah.
asking us to show up. We feel this assignment, and
Yeah.
I feel that you probably feel this, because I feel this. It's like I'm being like pulled, because there's this part of me that's like, I'm gonna live remote. I'm gonna have grow my garden. I'm gonna just the like drinking from the stream. I like my place in Costa Rica is my dance in that, right? Like everything's very sustainable there. And I'm like, there's that part of me that wants that. And then there's this wrestle of this other part that's like,
Right.
Danette, I've asked an assignment of you, and it does require you to come from just being alone in your little garden and your land and come out.
Right.
And so there's a wrestle a lot.
Right.
And so for me, I've started to look at this wrestle and go, okay, what is this? And it is this yin and yang, and it's both important, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it's every day, and I know you do this too, every day getting back to the earth, every day getting back to source energy, because without it, I'm losing my footing. And I am in nature probably 3 hours to 4 hours a day. And when I say by that, like, I will take business calls. I will do whatever I can. I record most of my podcasts walking in nature. I will be out there as much as I can. I'm touching trees, I'm sitting down, I'm meditating in nature, and I do that every single day. And that to me feels like my balance of going, I will serve and I will show up in these, because the computer's hard for me. Even saying yes to a podcast virtually is
Yeah.
hard for me. It's hard for my soul to say yes to, but I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to show up because this is the environment that my soul chose to live in. It didn't say it wanted to be a Buddha sitting in a
Yeah.
cave. I know
Yeah.
that. I know that's not my assignment. It chose this timeline. It chose to be born in 1977 and to do this timeline. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to show up in this timeline, but I'm not going to forget my roots, which is the earth. And I'm going to choose to be in her every single day and honoring myself and her every single day. That's all I can
Whoa.
do.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I feel that so deeply,
Hmm.
and just to talk to that point, I was so bummed that our schedules didn't match up because I was like, it hurt me not to see you and do this in person and stuff,
I
and I was like,
know.
oh,
But you know
and
how
then
hard LA is for me? Like my
oh,
soul takes like 5 days to regulate after coming
yeah,
out of LA.
yeah,
It's so hard for me. And
yeah,
maybe I'm getting, and I want to say different languaging. I want to say, oh, I can grit, I'm good. But my truth is, no, it doesn't do as well in certain
yeah.
environments.
Yeah, and even now, like I'm still in that rebuilding type of process, and I don't have my studio here on my land, and so I have to drive into LA, and it's and it's
You
just
can
like
feel it.
and the PCH just closed, and so it takes me an hour and a half one way,
Oh,
and it's
wow.
just like I feel it too, and it's sometimes strange to it is that toggle of just going, okay, I'm here, but how do we best one of the best things that I've ever done, even though I didn't realize my property was going to burn to the ground, but was to buy this property. Like it's the only way I can I mean, for lack of better vocabulary, but it's the way I'm choosing to interact, but also 10 in 15 minutes I can be on a major highway and going to a studio or whatever. But
Yeah.
I think it's such an important it's so important to understand our language that's coming to us, because
Hmm.
there really isn't anyone that can ever really tell us the messaging from source to us. It's
Hmm.
a private highway. And
Hmm.
yes, gathering and creating space and meditating and being around people that are resonate with you help, but it's that daily self-reflection of learning that language that is it doesn't come, I want to say easy. It comes by way of, for myself, just speaking for myself, it, it it's deciphering this powerful but yet subtle language that is squashed out by this 3D world, right? This this distracting world, and then we live in this algorithmic onslaught of messaging, uh, and it's telling us what to
What
do,
and what to
and,
believe.
and what to believe at a level. Like I was on like I can't reveal the corporation I was talking to, but I also had a really good friend he's a very high level strategist. Everyone you can think of, from Hollywood to governments, he has actually worked with on some level. So he was in this conversation, and he's such a beautiful person. But when he starts to describe the level of money, algorithms, underneath the messaging that is coming through these damn phones and all of it, and it is so unbelievably wild that the truth is so manipulated in so many different ways. It's almost, Danette, it's almost screaming at us that if you keep looking for your truth, your reasons for living through these methods, you are going to get the crap beat out of you. And,
It's so interesting.
you
Well,
know,
well, and I think this is a conversation I've just been recently reflecting on is these people that claim to be spiritualists will be like, be your authentic self. That's the most spiritual thing you can do. And I'm like, let's talk about this authentic self because I don't think
mm,
many of us really even know who our authentic selves are because we're so
right,
programmed. If we're
yeah,
on these, we are being programmed every single day and we think it's truth and we think it's the way we believe and the way that life is actually is. But there is, depending on the algorithm,
yeah,
Sally Joe next to me is looking at a whole different world. And I'm looking at one world and I'm just getting fed more and more
yeah,
of that world to sink it in deeper and deeper. I don't know who my authentic self is. And the only way for me to truly know my authentic self is to strip it all down and go back to the earth
right,
and like watch nature and find my reflection in her because honestly we're just being programmed every single
yeah,
day.
yeah. It is at a level that it's just we can't even. I can't even. When I hear my buddy talk, I was just going. It's so stunning.
Yeah.
Um, and then the other thing. Speaking of those moments, there was a because the birds in the springtime and the young birds are being born, and in my little sanctuary out here, there's a nest that every year they use. They're on the outside of the structure and they go to the same nest every time. And so when they're born, it's just chaos right outside my door. And one bird came in. One little tiny bird came in, like flew through the door when it was just ajar and came in, and then I was like, and she slammed into the window and it was just horrifying, right? And I actually got her out and she was stunned, and I put her down and I just did a little prayer and
Mhm.
held her for a second. And then I just observed her and I just kept showering her, just stepped away then and just kept showering her. And then she got her senses about her and then flew off.
Oh.
I can't stop thinking about that. And the connection that I had with this tiny little being was so immense that if you really take that in, I don't know if there's anything greater than that kind of you know natural, empathetic, connective, real experience.
Yeah.
And again, you go, okay, now I gotta get on a Zoom call, or like, and it's such a it's we're in such an interesting time.
Hmm.
Like we talk about, ultra processed food and fatal conveniences, and the modern world is just littered with shit.
And we
That's
think it's so advanced.
yeah, and it largely hurts us, hurts our bodies,
which
and
is
then
not
all of a
advancement.
right. Yeah, and then we're distracted with all of the pains and the aches and the whatever that is, and then it's further down the hole. So it's like, if I guess if you were to, I'll just put you on the spot here. If you were to, I mean, I think you already said it in the sense that we literally have to get back to the silence and the connection to this earth, like, and to ourselves, and if you don't know what that is, the only way to do that is to, like, stop, and what are some things that you really feel, or at least see, when you work with people or being in this space for a long time? What are some of the things that move the needle the most for people? What are you seeing, and people even listening,
Like move the needle in what way?
in
Like,
terms of getting back to listening to their true authentic self in this context? Like, how is it that we can learn to find that true north in our soul, in our connection to ourselves, and then from there, hopefully start steering our life in a direction that is from and within that space?
yeah, I sense that anyone who's listening to this, that's even going to receive these words that we're speaking, is either in a cracking phase of pain, there's been a loss, there's been deceit, they're cracking open. Because I feel like we have these three stages as a human, and sometimes we go through these evolutions of these three stages, but, and this is not in any particular order, but let's just say we have the numb out stage. And when you're in a numb out stage, you just put this big casing around yourself, and you probably numb out on social. You just try not to feel too much.
Right.
You're probably easily programmed. You're easily numbed out. You don't want to feel a lot of pain. You don't want to feel a lot of joy. Just let me just be in this space. And I think we've all been there at some point. And then there's another stage, which is the cracking. And I feel Mother Earth's doing that right now, and she mirrors us. She mirrors the emotions of the collective. She'll mirror the emotion of yourself if you just watch it in your own world, your own filament of what you're watching in nature. She'll mirror you, but the cracking happens when there's pain, or there's change, or there's disruption, or betrayal, or disease, or whatever. And that cracking is so necessary. It's like the shell came off. To me, numbness is the worst space. The cracking isn't. And we talk about that being the dark, all this, but it's the cracking. It's in the eruptions of these fires and these earthquakes and these there's, I think, 3 volcanoes going off around the globe just this morning. And this cracking is when you actually feel. And this is your opportune time to feel and to let her hold you and to let her teach you and to nurture you, because you're actually in a space of so much vulnerability that you can actually hear her whispers. You can feel her love. Because you don't have so much around you. And so I always say that if you're in that cracking, you're in that pain, you're in that transition, you're in that wondering, you're in that uncertainty, then yay, I want to clap for you, because this is your opportunity. Because now when you crack and you're able to feel and go back to her, then you're going to grow. And it's like the lotus growing out of the mud. You're going to actually be able to suck up the mud, all the crap, and karmically alchemize it for your ultimate growth, for your ultimate beauty, for the moment when you actually are just out in the sunlight like a beautiful flower. But there's stages, right? And the best way is to just every day, make it like brushing your teeth, make it like you eating a meal. Get out with her. Watch her. See what she's mirroring back to you. Is she cloudy? Is she rainy? Is she bright and sunny? Is she windy? What is she mirroring back to you of what's going on inside of you? And see if you can do a dance with her. I would always recommend, we now have all this science around it, which is funny because every Indigenous person, I think they're the wisest people on the planet and who we should be listening to. They'd be like, oh, yeah, we walk barefoot all the time. But we're like, oh, now it's scientifically cool to walk barefoot.
Right.
But like, walk barefoot, touch the trees, breathe in the air, notice, just be in awareness of. And that can be just the first signs of medicine. It doesn't need to be complicated.
Yeah, it doesn't. And I think, I go through this all the time. I think I kind of went through it again. Like I stressed myself out. I was working more than I have ever, and then I was like barely treading water, not getting anything done, and then body was aching, and I was frustrated, and the dog was like
Oh, yeah.
Chaga was like hurting like crazy, and I'm just going, oh my god, like. And this is like, if you have a pet, that bond also is
Telepathic.
totally, totally, and to the point where like I broke my foot messing around on a motorcycle several years ago, and my motorcycle came down on my foot and I broke it. The next day, Chaga couldn't walk.
Yeah.
He was like, so when you say that, it is I go back to like, it is that personal relationship with the information. And it doesn't seem, if you're cruising around in a city, if you live in a city, it is like there's kind of no nature except that you're still in it. You can't get out of it. So it's like, I don't know. My you and I have created our lives where I can go out and I have hawk medicine and bobcats and mountain lions and like all kinds of things that are always
Exactly.
right doing stuff and revealing stuff. And and I think about people that are living in cities. Like I went to New York and I couldn't get out of there fast enough because I had to go, and I came back going, oh my god, I have to get out of here. And I guess my point is, like, when people feel so, I don't know how the hell to listen, um the body then also shares a lot. Like the body is interacting, right? And you've gone through so much of your own. What's your top catalysts for you that have pushed you to some of the greatest, and I can say this to you, some of the greatest expressions of your life?
Yeah, I think it's in my cracking that have been my greatest gifts.
Yeah.
And at the time, I felt like they were really hard, like the loss of my son, had horrific things in my past relationship. And then you go through, how did I attract that? What part of me do I not love that I would attract someone who does these kinds of things? Like there's been a lot in my past that I used to kind of feel a little shame around, like, why would I attract that? Why would I create that? Why did I choose that? And now I'm realizing that it was all like everything's polarity. And oftentimes we choose actually to really face the dark so that we can really choose the light and really choose a new way. And, we're talking a lot about Mother Earth because she is the only constant, and the sun rising and falling and the world shifting and stuff. Mother Earth is the one constant, and she is mirroring everything. And your body is tuning to that. So you might not know like you're like, oh, I don't know about this, or how do I get in touch with this? Like you're bringing up those things, but your body's doing it, whether your mind's aware of it or not. And one of the quickest ways to get the mind in awareness of what you're feeling is to listen to the body. So like you said, like when your body's aching, our bodies are not set up to ache, and our bodies are not really set up to experience disease. And so it's really important to be looking around you and going, why is my body aching? What relationships do I have around me? what who am I even being intimate with? Like I speak to women a lot because I'm like, we are some of the most powerful vessels that are, we are the power vessels walking the planet, and we're giving our power away unknowingly.
Yeah.
And it's like your body will tell you in so many ways, um, through your womanly parts, you know, and men too. Like we are getting information all the time, but are we listening to it? Because it's not just that, oh, I slept wrong, or oh, that was just painful sex. Like, no, you're with the wrong person most likely, or there needs to
Right.
be a conversation, or there needs to be a
Right.
clearing, or there you're actually, your neck's hurting because you're actually not speaking what you really feel, and you're actually angry about something and you're hiding underneath all of it. There's all this information, right? And um, so let that be your tuning fork. Let that be your guiding light to understanding and getting more clear.
Yeah, think about that, right? Because we are nature. Like
Yeah.
we actually can't separate ourselves, even though we're doing a hell of a job in our world. But you're right. But you can't. Like the last couple of days, I'll out myself right now. My back is aching in a way that I haven't felt in 20 years.
Mm.
And I was like, and I'm at this point myself that I was pushing and pushing and pushing and really this morning I asked myself, it was on one hand a strange question, but on another hand kind of, it was good for my ego in a sense. It was not, I mean, good in the sense that puts my ego out of the picture really. And that was, if I had literally all the money I would ever need to do anything, to go anywhere, to create anything, to be anywhere, what would I do? And it is so amazing to ask, number one, questions, because that's the invocation into the universe that I think is, I could speak a year on the power of a question, it feels like. And I stopped asking questions and I started forcing stuff, right? And when I asked myself that question, I mean, I really love the expression and the quote unquote work of doing the docuseries stuff. And I am working on a new one. It's literally called Mother Earth.
Oh, nice.
Called a roadmap to happiness, and we're in several countries, and we shot one in New Zealand
Wow, that's
already.
amazing.
And but yet I've been working so hard on all of this other stuff. Not to say that you have multiple things going on, I have multiple things going on, but it was the way I was doing it, and I've extracted no fun in my life. I've perpetuated no fun. I got so caught in where I wouldn't go surfing, or I wouldn't jump on my motorcycle just to go for a ride. I was like, what am I doing?
Doing.
Right? And I'd work all weekend. Um, and that's currently what I'm coming out of right now. And my body is just like, holy shit, man. Because people may have seen in the docuseries that fun part of, like, that's mostly me. Meaning that it is me 100% when I'm
Doing
funny,
those things, you're probably
and
having fun.
I am on purpose, but yet I have a levity to myself that just allows the energy to flow, and I'm laughing at myself all the time. And I've 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 extracted that out of my life in order to do certain things that still have a lot of importance to me. But it was like at the sacrifice of the beingness that I actually enjoy the most.
Mm.
And that was a tricky one for me to see, because I was so hell bent on producing stuff and creating stuff that I was just like literally crushing myself.
Interesting. It is tricky because you are in your purpose, but at the expense of this little boy that wants to have some fun. So can you balance both? And it's not even really balancing, it's just giving
Right.
both.
Right.
Hmm.
Exactly. I do see both. I do see all of it as I enjoy, because I can get super clear and conscious and serious on certain things, but at the same time have a blast, right?
Yeah.
And at this point in your life, I mean, you've kind of explained how much you spend time outside, but and what have been the tools now and the wisdom along the path that you have are non-negotiables for your girl to have, little girl, to play and have fun and
Yeah.
enjoy also the fruits, right, of what you've done. What are things that maybe people don't know about that you
Yeah.
would like to share?
I tend to go through interesting seasons because and I recognize that I'm at a place in my life. We go through cycles, so I want to say this because I don't think we can, just like the lotus. I love, obviously it's in my branding, but I reflect on nature a lot to learn from it, right? And you got to have mud and muck so that you can alchemize it to grow. And you're in sometimes seasons of the mud and the muck. There's people that are in that season right now. I'm actually in a season of the most abundance, freedom, expansion I've ever felt in my whole life.
Wow,
I've never
nice.
felt this good ever. And I I'm in this interesting space because if you're not careful, it can feel so good and it's a different thermostat that I could go back to old patterns of like, oh, I got to work because I just sold one of our companies. We just sold Earth Echo in February.
Oh, nice.
And
Congratulations.
thank you. And so obviously that opened up this threshold of something different. I've never experienced that before. And I always wanted to experience what an exit would feel like, more for the experience, because I
Right.
like life. I like to experience just what is this flavor of life. But I'm reflecting on this trip. So okay, so what I'm trying to do, I'm doing seasons. So there was a season before the cell where I really didn't, I've worked really hard. I've worked 7 days a week. I put in a lot of effort. I wasn't really present to a lot of things. I wasn't going out and hanging out with anybody. And now I'm at this place where I'm like, I really don't need to work ever again, but I want to because there's an assignment. And that's probably what you're feeling too. There's an assignment. But I also need to really learn how to be present with what is. And so there was a season when I said no to everything. This was just probably it was like the 2024 pretty much. I did a few things, but mostly I said no. Like friends would ask me to go on yacht trips or really cool things. And I said, no, no, I need to learn to enjoy the simple things right now. And that was the season I was in. So I was like seeing how much juice I could get from just watering my plants and how much juice I could get going out early in the morning and like just spraying the flowers with water. How much juice I could get from like cleaning my countertops. I really actually like things clean. I don't really like cleaning, but I was like, well, I really like the after effect of a clean counter. Can I find juice in this? And so I was experimenting for about a year with saying no to things that I would think would juice me up, like really cool trips because I love traveling, and going, no, can I juice from what's in front of me right now in the very mundane? And so I was in that season in 2024ish and just really facing off. I was doing a lot of ceremony, a lot of sweat lodge. Can I juice this hot heat of being with the Lakota right now and just juice that? Because this is where I'm at and they're my neighbors and they're inviting me to sit with them. Like I was just juicing what was in front of me. And now I'm in this new phase of I've never felt so expanded in my life. What am I going to do? And I always think about life like a vacation, right? So when you're on vacation, or at least when I vacation, I love just seeing where my spirit wants to take me. I'm not the planner. I'm not like, we're going to go see this city and we're going to go to this cafe. I really love just getting to a place and seeing what I'm sensing in that moment and experiencing it. And for example, when I was in Spain, there was I heard about this hike to this other town, which they were like, it might take you all day to get there, but it's kind of pretty. You could, and I didn't even know if I was on the right trail. I love stuff like that. Like, I'm like,
Mm.
I don't know when I'm going to eat. I don't know when my next source of water is. I don't even know if I'm on the right trail, but I'm sure I'm going to live. So I'll just go and go out. And there was this divergent path. And this is where I feel like I'm at. And I was like, I don't know if I take this road or I take this road. I don't know if this road's going to lead me into town or lead me to another town, another mountain, or if this road's going to lead me somewhere. And I was like, I was in so much bliss. And I want to, and this is where I want to be right now is like, I chose one road just because it made me curious. And we used that word at the very beginning of this. I was like, and I said this yesterday to my business team. I said, I just want to choose the road right now because it makes me curious. I don't know if it's going to lead to anything. I don't know if it's even going to be fruitful. I just want to go down it because I want to go down it. And that's where I'm at right now.
Mm.
So
That's
I don't know where
beautiful.
it's going to lead me, but that's what I want to do. I want to live my life like that right now.
That's beautiful. I mean, well, you kind of answered my other point. If you had the money that you needed and took care of, you can then live from, okay, what do I want to do? What do I want to contribute to? What do I want, and I mean, leading from that curiosity. There is so much, and even, and I want to also say this because you've put yourself in a position to also not have to worry about a bill or a thing that you have to overcome, right? However, I will also say for the people that have not exited and exited a business and made a bunch of money, you can still live from curiosity. You can still live into the question. You can still harness that power, right? And
And it
that
is a power, actually.
exactly. And a
Yeah.
huge one. And I say this like if I started superfood hunting 20 years ago with a little bit of money, but I was so curious. I just had to go. Like it was so innocent in its first initiation was like, well, I want to look at, you know, Una de Gato, Maca, Sasha Inchi, you name it, Camo came out. I want to go. I have to because I feel like I want to play with these things. I have to go meet the people. Like I have to go. And little did I know that so much abundance was going to come from that
From
choice.
that.
So that's why I say this because I don't want people to say, well,
You
Danette
have to
just
reach this to get that. No, I actually didn't reach this if I wouldn't have honored my curiosity.
right.
And you're saying the same thing. I had $47 to my name, raising two daughters by myself when I started these businesses. And my curiosity is the same as yours. It started with superfoods. It started with what's going to make me feel the best right now as a mom by
Right.
myself, raising these kids. I feel so numb. What can I do? And that's where my love of superfoods came from.
Right. Yeah, and your love of this the sacred cacao and
Yeah.
and all of that stuff, and it's a very very similar path actually in a sense because you built what you felt you needed, so you started infusing yourself with those foods, right? And then you built a kingdom from it, right? And then you're able to now in the fruit of that. And I also have my own, like, I created the freaking shake ultimately for another company that did billions and billions of dollars. There
Totally.
is none of that would have happened for any of us if it wasn't first led by the most abundant thing, and that is a deep, deep listening to a thing that's pulling so hard that you also you I am glad I didn't have a crystal ball as to what was going to happen for the next 20 years, right? It's because the journey is so much of that. Like you had no idea with $47 and two kids, no idea that this was going to be a payload later. Like it doesn't start from that. Nothing really good comes by way of I don't know about you, but I just am not motivated by I just have to do it for money. I just can't. I see people hustling all the time and they're selling tchotchkes and they're yeah, people make money. I get it. But it's just not gonna work for me. I gotta be behind it and happy and curious. And so there's a lot of different ways because we all know when we have several people that we know of in our lives who, and you hear it all the time, people have hit the mountain of cash and then they're empty,
Yeah.
and when in fact, someone like you built something out of this deep passion and curiosity. You shared it along the way authentically. And then, nothing gives me greater pleasure than to hear that the rewards of, because also along the way you have got the crap beat out of you from things that you needed to crack open and learn from. And it's nice when the universe and sometimes those things wink at you and you get to like revel in that. And I would just say to you, yeah, keep rolling, man, and just and enjoy that. What else is possible?
Yeah.
Like hey,
And that's the little kid in you and me and probably everyone listening is the little kid doesn't want to hike on the trail. The little kid isn't going, I'm going to hike on this trail to get to this lake. The little kid's like off the trail, going through the
yeah,
trees, digging a
yeah,
hole, looking underneath something, and they're curious. That's what we have to remember. And they probably are having infinitely more fun than the person who's like, I got to get to this lake, And even though the lake's stunning and that was a perfectly fine hike, I guarantee that kid like fought dragons. They saw so many things you
yeah.
never even encountered in that one
Right,
little hike because they were
right,
off all over. And I think about our animals. I think about our dogs. I mean, they're all over. That's why I never keep my dog on a leash as much as I can. I'm a
yeah.
big proponent of that because I'm like, oh my gosh, watching their free spirit, I'm like, we're all leashing ourselves as humans. And then we do it to our animals, like let them go and let them explore and live, like watch them and learn from it. Like, where are you not getting off the path to go
Yeah.
explore? Like, go explore. And that's kind of where I'm trying to give myself permission because little Danette was raised in a really like strict household and I followed all the rules. I was like always trying to be so good. And I think my heart's really good. So let myself be a little bit more wild and a little bit more uh, off leash. So that's what I'm going to do.
I like that. That's a good campaign. Let's all go off leash and
Leash.
see
That
what
is
we
a
can
good campaign.
muck up and create and
Yeah.
maybe destroy some things that aren't so great for us
Yeah.
as
Build a
well. But
fire and burn some things.
yeah, yeah, just not in California.
No,
But
no, no. It's metaphorical.
no, I know. But you could put a little candle and make a little can, and you still certainly can, get
Yeah,
some things out in your journal and burn them away.
absolutely.
But there's so much here, and I'm grateful that we got to connect, and I'm grateful for the things. What are you now? I mean, you kind of answered it, but you're stoked about your Costa Rica adventure. Is there anything percolating that that you secretively, and maybe you don't have to share it, but that you would like to see in the world,
Yeah.
that you'd like to contribute to?
It just, you know what? You were one of the people, God, I didn't even really share it with you. And you came in LA and you came into this like studio that was like very LA, very dingy, very like, but the big bright sign. So it looks like you're in something really opulent, but you're not.
Right.
And you were like, yeah, I get it. Manifestful, move, intend, create. I see what you're, and I was like, he gets it. Like, I don't even have to say it. Like, he gets it. And I've been sitting on this thing for like 6 years, and I have been now in the studio. I've been doing the studio for the past 2 years, but I have these frequencies and they're so good. And I've been learning like how to create my own songs, my own beats with these frequencies. Been working a lot with sacred geometry, and I for sure see people gathered, unified intention in outdoor stadiums under the stars and the moon and dancing and using their bodies as antennas to create, to heal, to unite. And I'm going to step into this and I'm going to do it with more. I noticed that I was fearful of it. I was fearful, and I have no idea. I've never been an entrepreneur that's been afraid. And so I was like, what is this? I don't know why I'm like so scared of doing something that's so fun. And I think it's because it's probably the greatest joy I'll ever feel and probably the biggest impact I'll ever have. And even if it's not, it's fun. And that's the point. And I don't want to miss the point. So that's what I'm going to be doing.
Ooh, sign me up. Where do we go? Where do we get the
I will
the
call you
beats?
up. I'll be like, meet me in Amsterdam. Come to the
The
show.
the beats happening.
Greece.
Yeah. What
Let's go.
twist my arm. Well, thank you for that amazing conversation, and is there anything you want to tell anyone or let people know about your curiosity, what you're doing, where you're going, any online anything? I mean, kind of funny to even say that at this point, um but is there
Yeah.
any way people can contribute to what you're up to next?
Yeah, I feel like if any of this resonates, part of this curiosity trail I'm going on is I've decided to be more bold in my podcast too. And
Mm.
I'm like you, I still feel this is a beautiful platform to express, to share viewpoints, it's like a library. It's like the library that I would go to as a single mom and take my kids to because I could get free books and education for myself and my kids. And that's what a podcast is for humanity today. It's
Right.
like the library. And I want to contribute in that way because it gave to me so much in my darker hours as a single mom and my kids' growth. And so, but I want to be more bold on the podcast, and I am being more bold on the podcast, and I'm having different conversations, and I'm sharing
Nice.
about this sound frequency experiences that will be coming down. You'll be seeing a lot more of it, most likely probably more in 26 and beyond, because it's a lot of studio time right now, but I am stoked for these conversations, for this type of relating with the world. And I know the right vibration will come, and those who are not in that vibration won't be there, and that's okay.
Right.
Not right. That's just not mine.
Right.
Their vibration's right for them. Mine's for mine, and that's that.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like across the board you're raising frequencies and raising your frequency and raising the podcast frequency, and then let it rip.
Yeah. Thank
Let
you.
it rip. Yeah, you're awesome. Thank you so much for contributing your light to the Super Life community, and I know it resonates and it will resonate with a lot of people.
Thank you, Darin, for being who you are. Can I just take a minute and tell you what a light you are and that you know things that many people will not know because you just stay quiet and you do like stay humble, but you are someone who reads people. You read the soul of not just animals, not just nature, but you try to really read the souls of people. And I want to say I really emulate the journey you're trying to be on to really help people and to help humanity. And most of all, Mother Earth, who is just this embodiment of all of us women along this globe. And so, on behalf as a woman, I want to say thank you for loving her because that lets me know that you love women. And I want to say thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. I take that in, and it's a grand compliment coming from you.
Thank you.
Thanks.